Imagine a world 1,000 years from now where an intelligent AI system is in control of all of our life's decisions. It monitors each of us, builds a profile to make these decisions, like what job you can apply for, what house you can buy. If you get sick, it tells your doctor whether you should receive treatment or not. And if you break the rules, it decides your sentence. Now, we humans can speak up. We can even publish news and content criticizing the AI. But the AI reviews and decides what actually gets seen by others, effectively using our content to shape the individual realities of others. In such a future, where AI has such influence over our lives, how could we ensure that the decisions it's making are trustworthy? What if I told you that you don't need to wait 1,000 years to need an answer to that question? That AI is used to make each of those decisions today. The US judiciary system uses AI to decide sentences by predicting the likelihood of reoffending, and it's proven to be biased. Personalized recommender algorithms already tailor the news that we each see by collecting our biometric data, face prints, voice prints, behavioral data, to build advanced profiles on each of us that's used to decide not just which news and content we get fed, but even which other user comments we see. The comments we click into to help us understand what's happening in the world. And this is all happening with little to no accountability or transparency. The algorithms that are used to make these decisions are known as black box algorithms because they can't explain their decisions fully, not even to the people who've built them. AI is deeply integrated into our society, and it's almost entirely unregulated, even in sectors that are supposed to be regulated. AI is an umbrella term used to refer to a number of different types of technology. One of those types of technology is something called machine learning, specifically decision-making algorithms. And these are used in those regulated sectors like insurance, banking, the judiciary system, to make decisions for us, like whether or not our mortgage applications get approved, how much we each pay for our car insurance or our health insurance, and in some countries, used to decide sentences for people convicted of crimes. These algorithms are trained on historical data. And when you give an algorithm enough data, it gets really efficient at making these decisions. But there's a gap between the regulator's ability to assess if these models are actually adhering to the current laws that we have in place. In Europe, for example, we all know it's illegal for an insurance company to take something like gender into consideration. They're not allowed to discriminate in our insurance quotes. So when the regulators come around to the insurance companies and ask to inspect their models, they look into the model and they see, has that model been given the gender? And if it hasn't, that's usually seen as compliance. However, researchers have been able to accurately guess the gender from the biased outcome from the model, even when the gender was not given to the model. The model has so much data that it's able to accurately guess the gender and bias against the gender, in this case, men for car insurance. So regulators are struggling to regulate something as fairly simple as gender in an insurance model. How do we expect to regulate these new, much more complex technologies in the future? The upcoming legislation, the AI Act, which is currently being rolled out over the next few years, is seeking to do just that. In 2019, the EU published something called Ethics Guidelines for Trustworthy AI. These are 7 principles, non-legally binding, included in the AI Act now. And they include things like human oversight, transparency, bias, non-discrimination. They're designed to guide developers to build more ethical technology. Some of these principles within the Act are actually legally binding, like discrimination. But we already know that our regulators are not able to efficiently and effectively audit existing technologies for discrimination. What we need is a technology to actually evaluate this. The gap between the regulators' access to this technology and the types of technologies companies are using is posing a significant problem for society. For my PhD, I'm building a tool that quantifies the trustworthiness of AI systems in line with these 7 principles. These principles can already be quantified for many use cases. The problem is that when we try to make AI systems more trustworthy, it often involves a trade-off with principles that affect profitability. So something like accuracy, for example. And so if we're asking companies to decide a trade-off between an ethical principle and profitability, there is a clear conflict of interest. And that's what's happening right now. Companies self-regulate this type of thing. And even within the AI Act, we're asking companies to self-assess. The tool that I'm building can be used for things like the insurance example that I gave you. However, it would need to be extended considerably to be able to use on more complex algorithms, such as those systems which are being used by social media companies. Now, there's no denying that social media can be a really good way to keep in contact with people without actually having to speak to them in real life. It also is actually kind of fun sometimes, and we know that. And that's why we spend a lot of time on those algorithms. But there's a darker side to social media. It can be addictive. It can be harmful to society. And it also can be used to influence what we all think. It can be used to make us have polarizing views. And this is something that needs to be regulated. These companies use 3 types of technology in particular. The first one is technology which is used to understand the content that we put on their platforms. So we can upload this video today and put it on one of those platforms, and it will take some screenshots from throughout the video. It will feed that into an algorithm and decipher that this is TEDx. It will take the audio, my audio, and transcribe it into text. Between the videos and the audio, it will decipher exactly what I'm saying and what impact that would have on the people who consume that content. And they do this for all the videos uploaded to these platforms. So they understand to a great level of detail if it's politically leaning, which way it's leaning, is it funny, and how it might be perceived by people. That's the first thing. The second thing they do is they have algorithms which essentially profile the users on the platform. So they know what the content is. Now they're going to show it to you. And based on how you respond to that content, they'll start to understand you. Over time, they'll build a bigger and bigger picture of you as a person. And that's the second thing. The third thing that they're doing, that they're allowed to do, they get to decide. We know what the content is. We know who you are. And now we get to decide what you each see. Imagine the editor of the largest newspaper in the world, a newspaper that serves 1 billion people. These algorithms, with access to 1 billion people's data, they get really, really good. They get really good at understanding who these people are. So this editor who gets to decide what we all see, and not collectively, not the front page of the newspaper we all get to talk about together, but individually, that editor also has instant feedback and instant response to how you consume that concept. Think about the amount of power that these companies have, the amount of insights that they have on us. You might think, I don't care if somebody profiles me. I don't care if somebody takes my data. Well, what if they take all our data? What if they take the data of 1 billion people? At that point, we start to care. At that point, they start to impact our society at a very significant level. In a world where these companies are starting to have more and more power, and these AI systems are starting to impact us and our daily lives more and more, we have to ensure that the legislation that we're starting to put in place comes in tandem with the technology to actually evaluate these systems, instead of allowing companies to self-regulate and self-assess, so that we can ensure that these powerful systems that are impacting our society are being built to serve us safely and ethically. Thank you. you.